The active actions of the AFU on the left bank of the Dnipro River have divided those observing the war in Ukraine into both those who are seriously considering the possibility of a breakthrough to Crimea along this direction and skeptics. But so far, real events indicate that the Russian command in the Crimean Taurian direction has received an obviously significant headache. That is a fact. As far as I understand, everything is going according to plan there, however clearly not Russian. At least, 2 tactical bridgeheads of the AFU in the area of the automobile and railroad Antonivka bridges have already merged into one, while becoming a bit bigger. And to all appearances, the AFU are holding it quite tightly. How does the new commander of the Dnipro group react to all these events? Of course, in the style typical of the Russians, by transferring additional forces and means to the dangerous area, as well as conducting numerous series of attacks in non-stop mode. And the introduction of military formations, units and subdivisions into the battle is taking place, as usual, as they are being concentrated and deployed. In particular, the Russian command wants to return to the left bank of the Dnipro River the units of the 7th Airborne Assault Brigade, which were only recently transferred to the Tokmak direction, where they were supposed to strike at the flanks of the advancing AFU group. But with flank counterattacks in the Tokmak direction, the occupants still did not get anything good, and Ukrainian Marines arranged a fatal meeting for the Russian motorized riflemen. The enemy will soon be forced to deal with the problem of Ukrainian bridgeheads on the Dnipro. After all, if this issue is left to the winding up, the AFU will be able to get a stretch of coast on the right bank of the river, where the bulk of Russian artillery will not reach. Of course, it will still need to be securely covered from the air, but there are reasonable hopes on this matter. It is also interesting to see what assessment the enemy gives to the actions of the AFU. Several Russian resources that are more or less adequate, if one can even say so, quite unanimously came to the conclusion that the AFU planned, organized and worked out their actions across the Dnipro River in advance. The Russians were unpleasantly struck by the speed and efficiency of the AFU units, especially in the area of increasing their efforts. They also concluded that the Ukrainian command had found a way, unknown to them yet, to provide replenishment of its forward units, and to organize their logistical support in sufficient quantities and with appropriate efficiency. Otherwise, the AFU's forward units would not have been able to conduct intensive combat operations on bridgeheads for a long period of time, and they are also managing to expand them. It is also obvious that the width along the front and the main areas and directions of the active actions of the AFU across the Dnipro were not chosen at all by chance. They are clearly tied to the nature of the terrain, the composition and operational structure of the Russian troops, even the level of water. The most successful and convenient places for landing and hidden progress in the floodplain are taken into account. Given the onset of winter, when logistics will directly depend on weather conditions, will the establishment of a bridgehead on the left bank of the river lead to a full-fledged operation of operational level? I would like to believe so, but a lot depends on the partners, and more precisely on military assistance. The main thing is that they should not forget that human resources are not infinite.